The year is 2170, and the world runs on a currency unlike anything we've ever known. Money is worthless. Time has become the only thing that matters. Every purchase costs a portion of your remaining lifespan. So to buy anything, you must literally spend your own time. In this society, surviving is impossible without enough time. As soon as every person turns 25, a countdown of 1 year appears on their arm. Once that timer reaches 0, their life instantly comes to an end. Meanwhile, the wealthy possess centuries, even thousands of years, of time, allowing them to live in complete luxury. They have built an exclusive society of their own, separated from everyone else, where they enjoy peace, comfort, and seemingly endless lives. On the other side of this world lies the ghetto, where the poor struggle every single day just to stay alive. They spend endless hours working, not for money, but to earn enough time to keep their countdown from reaching 0. If they fail, death is unavoidable. Among the people living in this harsh district is a young man named Will. He shares a small, rundown apartment with his mother, Rachel, and the little time they have is barely enough to get them through each day. To improve their situation, Will wants to earn extra time by competing in dangerous time-fighting matches. However, Rachel strongly opposes the idea because those fights rarely end without tragedy. Even so, Will refuses to let the hardships change who he is. Whenever he meets a young girl named Maya on the streets, he willingly gives her some of his own time, helping her survive despite having so little himself. Will and his best friend Burrell work at the local factory, where they're always raising the prices of the snacks, and it's common to find dead people who timed out on the floor. They're all paid by the day, but the factory always comes up with an excuse for why their employees didn't meet their quota and pays them less.
Where's the rest?
Never met the quota. Next.
That's a joke, right?
Next.
One evening, Will goes to a bar where he used to gamble to get an hour a guy owed him. He also meets Burrell, who is happily getting drunk thanks to a crazy guy who is buying drinks for everyone. This guy is Henry, whose timer has a whole century. Will doesn't understand what a rich man is doing here and tries to warn him about the Minutemen, a group of gangsters that steal other people's time, but Henry doesn't listen. Just as Will fears, gang leader Fortis shows up and asks Henry for a time fight. Everyone else in the bar runs away except for Will, who hides at the back just in case. Henry accepts the challenge but asks for a moment in the bathroom first. Only one guard goes with him, so Will takes the chance to knock the gangster out and escape with Henry through the back door. The two of them run through several streets before taking shelter inside an abandoned factory. Will locks the door from the inside, hoping they'll be safe until morning. Curious, he asks Henry why a wealthy man would ever come to a place like the ghetto. Henry reveals that he left New Greenwich because he's already 105 years old and has grown tired of living. Will can't understand why anyone would throw away such a gift, which only makes Henry smile. Henry explains that life in the ghetto is designed to become more expensive every day, so people constantly run out of time. As long as the poor keep dying, the rich can continue living for centuries. That night, they both fall asleep. Henry wakes up first and quietly transfers almost all of his remaining time to Will, leaving himself with only 5 minutes. When Will finally wakes up, he notices a message written on the window, "Don't waste my time." Rushing outside, he sees Henry sitting on a bridge, where his timer reaches 0 just moments later. Unaware that security cameras are watching, Will walks onto the bridge to confirm that Henry is truly dead before leaving the scene. A short while later, he visits his best friend Burrell's home, where he greets Burrell, his wife Greta, and their newborn baby. Pulling Burrell aside, Will transfers 10 years to him as a gift, honoring the 10 years of friendship they've shared. Later that day, Will waits at the bus stop for his mother, Rachel, but she never arrives. Earlier, the bus fare had suddenly increased, leaving Rachel with too little time to pay for the ride. With only an hour and a half remaining on her timer, she has no choice but to run home, even though the journey takes nearly 2 hours. The moment Will realizes what's happening, he sprints toward her. They finally reach each other in the middle of the road, but Rachel's timer expires just before they can make it home, and she dies in Will's arms.
No, 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 no!
Following morning, the timekeepers recover Henry's body. Agent Leon quickly concludes that Henry was murdered for his time and orders the nearby security footage to be reviewed. Although the cameras fail to capture Henry's final moments, they clearly record Will near the bridge, making him the prime suspect. Determined to avenge his mother's death, Will disguises himself as a wealthy traveler and hires a limousine to take him to New Greenwich, paying enormous tolls each time they cross into a new zone. After arriving in New Greenwich, Will checks into a luxurious hotel, where his arrival quickly catches the attention of a wealthy young woman named Sylvia. Once he's settled in, he heads to a restaurant for a meal. The waitress notices he's not from the area, but his generous tip earns her respect. She even advises him to buy better clothes if he plans to visit the city's exclusive casino.
The casino.
Can anybody go?
Not dressed like that.
Meanwhile, Will's rapid journey across several time zones raises suspicion in the system, allowing the timekeepers to trace his location. Agent Leon also realizes that years ago, he had been chasing Will's father. That evening, Will purchases an elegant suit and enters the casino. Since he isn't a member, he's required to donate 1 year of his time before being allowed inside.
Voluntary donation for non-members.
He joins a high-stakes poker table, where he faces Mr. Weiss, a powerful businessman known for lending time and making enormous bets. Sitting nearby is Weiss's daughter, Sylvia, who watches the game with great interest. Risking everything he has, Will goes all in, and against all odds, he wins. His victory impresses Mr. Weiss, who invites him to an upcoming party. The following day, Will buys an expensive sports car and drives to the event. During the party, Sylvia approaches him for a dance, admitting that despite his appearance, she can tell he didn't grow up among the rich and is likely from the ghetto. Sylvia confesses that, despite her luxurious life, she often envies the people in the ghetto. Surrounded by guards every day, she feels trapped and longs to do something reckless for once. Smiling, Will leads her to the beach behind the mansion and convinces her to go skinny dipping. Although she's nervous at first, she soon joins him, and the two talk about breaking even more rules together. When people begin searching for Sylvia, they hide inside a nearby cave until it's safe. They later return to the mansion through separate entrances to avoid attracting attention. Soon after, Mr. Weiss invites Will to another poker game, but the timekeepers suddenly arrive. They traced Will by tracking the expensive car he had purchased. During the interrogation, Will explains that Henry willingly gave away his time before dying, but the officers refused to believe him.
You expect me to believe that he was immortal and he wanted to die?
I don't expect you to believe it, but it's the truth.
They confiscate nearly all of his remaining time, leaving him with only 2 hours. Agent Leon remarks that Will reminds him of his father, a man Will barely remembers. As Weiss and Sylvia enter the room, Will uses the distraction to overpower the guards, seize a gun, and escape. He takes Sylvia hostage and forces his way out to his car. Leon immediately chases them through the city, even ramming Will's vehicle from behind. Will fights back by driving in reverse, narrowly avoiding a speeding truck. Leon isn't as fortunate and crashes into it, allowing Will and Sylvia to get away. As Will and Sylvia head toward the ghetto, Will asks her to transfer him some time, but she refuses. While crossing the bridge, Will becomes distracted by the security cameras and fails to notice a spiked strip lying across the road. The car loses control and crashes, knocking them both unconscious. A few minutes later, Fortis and his gang discover them and immediately begin stealing Sylvia's time. Before they can finish, the sound of approaching timekeeper sirens forces them to flee, leaving Sylvia with only 30 minutes remaining. When they regain consciousness, Sylvia panics after seeing how little time she has left and begs Will to save her. Will jokes about how quickly she's changed her mind about sharing, but he transfers some of his own time to keep her alive before taking her into town. After they leave, the timekeepers inspect the wrecked car. Before starting the investigation, Agent Leon collects his daily time allowance, since he never carries more time than necessary. Looking at the situation, he decides not to continue chasing Will, convinced that Will eventually come to him. Meanwhile, Will visits Burrell's home hoping for help, but Greta delivers heartbreaking news. Burrell drank himself to death, even though he still had 9 years left on his timer. With their time running low again, Sylvia begins to panic. Will notices the expensive earrings she's wearing and takes her to a pawn shop. Although the owner is closing, he agrees to buy them after seeing their value. Realizing the pair is desperate, he cheats them by offering only 2 days' worth of time. Having no better option, they reluctantly accept the deal just to stay alive. Next, Will take Sylvia to a payphone and has her call her family so he can speak directly with Agent Leon. As Sylvia's ransom, Will demands that 1,000 years be distributed among the timelines in the ghetto. Leon warns Will that he's beginning to follow the same path as his father and reveals that his father didn't die in a time-fighting match as Will believed. Instead, he was involved in something far more dangerous. Before Leon can say more, Will ends the call. When Leon informs Sylvia's parents about the ransom, Mr. Weiss still hesitates to give up even a tiny fraction of his enormous fortune. That night, Will brings Sylvia to his apartment, where she changes into Rachel's old clothes. Curious about Will's past, Sylvia asks about his father. Will explains that his father was a skilled time fighter who taught him an important trick. In a time fight, victory isn't about strength but determination. His father taught him to let his timer drop dangerously low, making the opponent believe they had already won. Then, at the perfect moment, he would reverse the situation and take all of their time. Will had always believed his father died in one of those fights, but after speaking with Leon, he realizes the truth may be different. He suspects his father was killed because he gave away the time he won instead of keeping it. The two also share memories of their 25th birthdays. Will remembers his timer activating while he was out on the streets, and because his family was already in debt, he nearly lost his first year immediately. Sylvia's experience was completely different. She woke up safely at home, and her father celebrated the occasion by giving her an extra 10 years. The following morning, Will watches the timeline station from his apartment window, hoping the promised time will be distributed. But nothing happens, making it clear that Mr. Weiss refused to pay the ransom. Sylvia is devastated by her father's refusal to help, finally realizing that his fortune was built by taking advantage of others. Will tells her to return home, but she refuses to leave him. Instead, the two decide to stand together, sealing their decision with a kiss. Although Sylvia wants to call her family one last time, Will agrees and hands her his gun for protection while he waits nearby. As soon as Mr. Weiss answers the phone, he ignores Sylvia's anger and warns her that the timekeepers are already on their way. When Sylvia turns around, she sees Agent Leon closing in on Will. Without hesitation, she shoots Leon in the arm, giving Will enough time to overpower him. After checking Leon's timer, Will discovers that timekeepers carry very little time on them to discourage robberies. Rather than letting Leon die, Will transfers enough time to keep him alive until his fellow officers can rescue him. Will and Sylvia then escape in Leon's police car. Left behind, Leon is forced to walk through the streets while angry citizens blame him for failing to protect ordinary people. Fortunately, other timekeepers arrive before the crowd can attack him. As they continue driving away, Sylvia points out that they can't stay in a police vehicle forever, giving Will a new idea. Will disguises himself as a timekeeper to stop a passing car on the roadside. Together, he and Sylvia rob a wealthy woman, taking both her valuable earrings and a large amount of her time, leaving her with only a single day to live before escaping in her vehicle. After putting enough distance between themselves and the city, they pull over to watch the news. That's when they discover they've both been declared wanted fugitives. Will again urges Sylvia to return home, but she refuses, saying this new life gives her a sense of purpose she has never felt before. At the same time, Mr. Weiss reassures his investors that everything is under control. Agent Leon interrupts the meeting to explain that the situation is no longer a kidnapping. Sylvia is now officially considered a criminal and is being hunted alongside Will. Weiss attempts to buy Leon's cooperation with a bribe, but Leon refuses. He warns Weiss that if Sylvia contacts him, he must report it immediately or risk being charged as an accomplice. Later, Sylvia asks Will whether he would really give away time if he had enough of it. When Will says yes without hesitation, she comes up with a bold plan. Together, they ambush one of Weiss's time transport trucks, crash it into a time bank, and steal as many time capsules as they can carry. The remaining capsules are left for the people in the ghetto to grab. By the time the timekeepers arrive, there's nothing left. In the evening, Greta finds a time capsule among her laundry, left by Will as an apology. Will also visits Maya, who is sleeping on the streets, and leaves some extra time for her as well. The rest of the time they stole is taken to the timeline for the clerk to distribute among anyone who needs it. At the timekeeper's office, Leon notices there's time that shouldn't be there and thinks Will is hurting the very people he's trying to help. The next morning, Fortis tries to rob a man, but the guy can finally stand up for himself because he bought a gun. Fortis pretends to let him go, but as soon as the guy turns around, he shoots the man anyway. When Fortis checks the guy's timer, he's shocked to see he's wasted a lot of time. Will and Sylvia begin robbing time banks all over the place, and their adventures appear on the news. Weiss wonders if his daughter was trying to kill him, but his wife points out that Weiss almost killed her first by suffocating her. A week later, Leon and his men finally find Will's apartment and get ready to arrest them. However, Will hears the radio chatter from the window and immediately runs away with Sylvia, bursting into a different apartment to jump through a window at the back of the building, not getting hurt thanks to a safe landing on top of a car. Leon copies them and starts to chase them through town, and when Will and Sylvia take the chase to the roofs, Leon opens fire on them. Will shoots back, but fails, so he and Sylvia get off the roofs and take the bus. The driver considers the idea of handing them to the authorities, but Will bribes him into silence, and they get to leave Leon behind. A A few hours later, Will and Sylvia check in at a hotel, paying extra to have all the rooms and for the receptionist not to tell anyone. When a new client comes in, he's told the hotel is fully booked, but he manages to get a quick view of Will and Sylvia going upstairs. Later, Fortis and his men begin threatening people on the streets for information on Will and Sylvia. At first, people stay silent because they want to protect their saviors, but Fortis then kills a man to show how serious he is. This inspires the guy from the hotel to confess what he saw. At the hotel, Will and Sylvia learn that the reward for their heads is 10 years, which they consider pretty insulting. Suddenly, Fortis bursts into the room with his men and holds the couple at gunpoint, while explaining that the timekeepers leave him alone because he steals from his own people, so now he must restore order. Fortis says he has no interest in killing Will outright, and instead challenges him to a time fight. Remembering the lesson his father taught him, Will stays calm and lets Fortis believe he's winning. The moment Fortis glances at his own timer, Will turns the fight around and begins draining all of his remaining time. As the guards gather in shock, Will takes advantage of the distraction, shoots them, and leaves Fortis to time out. By the time the timekeepers reach the hotel, Will and Sylvia have already escaped. A few hours later, Will realizes the authorities have responded by raising prices and loan rates even faster, canceling out the extra time they had given to the poor. Their small robberies are no longer enough. They would need nearly 1,000,000 years to truly shake the system. Luckily, Sylvia knows exactly where that amount is kept. The following day, Mr. Weiss arrives at work with heavy security. Suddenly, the guards react to a possible threat, but it's only Sylvia, claiming she wants to surrender. Believing her, Weiss lowers his guard, allowing Will to slip behind him and take him hostage. The pair forces Weiss into his office and makes him unlock the vault containing a capsule worth 1,000,000 years. Weiss argues that giving a year to 1,000,000 people would only delay their suffering and could even destroy the entire system. Will replies that bringing down the system is exactly his goal. After locking Weiss inside his own office, Will and Sylvia escape with the capsule. As soon as the timekeepers discover the robbery, they seal off the bridge leading to the ghetto and launch a massive pursuit. Agent Leon joins the chase, but in his determination to catch them, he forgets to collect his daily time allowance. The timekeepers open fire, but Will refuses to stop. He drives straight through the time zone barrier and reaches the ghetto. Leon immediately rams their car, forcing it to a halt. Will jumps out at once and secretly hands the capsule containing 1,000,000 years to Maya before he and Sylvia pretend to surrender. Certain that he's finally won, Leon steps forward. But just then, the timeline announces that free time is being distributed to everyone. Excited crowds flood the streets, blocking Leon's path and giving Will and Sylvia the perfect chance to escape. Leon fights his way through the crowd and continues the chase. After crossing another zone, he abandons his car and pursues them on foot. When he finally catches up, Will realizes Leon was once a poor man from the ghetto. Leon admits it's true, saying he worked his way out and believes everyone should do the same, before attempting to arrest them. Will reminds Leon that there's no point, because both he and Sylvia have only a few minutes left to live. Leon instinctively checks his own timer and is horrified to discover he never collected his daily time allowance. Seconds later, his countdown reaches 0, and he dies on the spot. With only moments remaining, Will and Sylvia share one final kiss. Then Will remembers that the timekeepers store extra time inside their vehicles. He rushes to Leon's car, grabs enough time, and races back. Sylvia is about to time out before he reaches her, but they meet just in time and share the remaining seconds, saving each other's lives. Meanwhile, back at the company, Mr. Weiss realizes the system has collapsed. Accepting defeat, he tells his employees there's nothing left to do because it's all over. News broadcasts spread across the country as massive crowds pour into the streets. Factories shut down, workers abandon their jobs, and thousands of people begin crossing the zone borders toward New Greenwich. Although the authorities insist that everything is under control, it's clear to everyone that the entire system is on the verge of collapsing. Inside the timekeepers' headquarters, the officers realize there's nothing left they can do. One by one, they leave their posts as order continues to fall apart. Meanwhile, Will and Sylvia remain out of the authorities' reach. Instead of disappearing, they continue targeting even larger time banks, determined to prevent the old system from ever being rebuilt. Finally, the story ends with the narrator thanking the viewers and asking them to like and subscribe to the channel to support his 3 days edit.